I'm kidding. There we go. Hey.
Hey, look at us, only 4 minutes late.
Okay, it was me.
Welcome to Talking Heads, everyone. Episode, we'll call it 251 Electric Boogaloo. I'm Jeff.
I'm John.
Welcome to the show, everyone. Thank you all so much for joining us on this Wednesday night, or on the replay and podcast form over on Anchor.fm, or wherever your favorite podcasts are found. And if you can't catch the show live and just want to catch some clips, make sure to subscribe to Craft Extra, where you can catch those all through the week. If you've never seen the show before, we talk beer, we talk tech, we talk games, pop culture, entertainment, usually some Star Trek. All super chats are read on the air, so long as they will not permanently demonetize the channel. We will be drinking alcoholic beverages on the show, and if you're drinking along with us, alcoholic or not, let us know in the chat, and we'll give some early show shoutouts as we go along. Last but not least, if you'd like to take part in the super secret chat and the even more super secret after party, think about joining the Patreon. Link is down in the video description. As a bonus, you'll get exclusive access to my Discord server, where you can chat with myself, John, Rhett, Steve, all the hosts from Talking Heads, and join the awesome community that hangs out over there.
That's right. And talk more Star Trek. No.
Let's talk more Star Trek.
Yeah.
And Star Wars and Morrowind.
Oh,
that's about
God.
it.
That's about it. Yeah, pretty much.
No, seriously, if you guys enjoy the show, you'd probably enjoy the Discord server even more. Think about jumping on over there.
It's super fun.
Yeah. All right. John, how's it going?
Busy day, even though I had the day off today.
Oh, yeah?
And so I prepped everything at 3 o'clock. I'm like, I'm going to be on time. I'm going to be cool. And I got to go pick up my son up from school. So that was kind of nice. Since I never get to see to do that. Then he was like, well, let's go play all these games. I'm like, sure, let's go do that. And my wife comes downstairs. She's like, you have like 8 minutes to get ready, right? I'm like, no. And then my son's like, wait, come look at this. We're going to do this. It's going to be great. And he's like replaying through Mario Odyssey. He's like, isn't it funny? This hat's right next to this hat. I'm like, you what? No, that took 3 minutes. I don't have 3 minutes.
That's funny.
So, yeah. But other than that, it's been nice. I just basically cleaned the studio.
Nice.
It's still dirty, but I can walk through it very easily. I can fit more than myself in here now.
Yeah. That's always nice. Man, I've been working on a project for nearly a week now, and I've had to order parts 3 separate times. Like, I've gone to shoot the video and been like, everything's going to go together, like, I think I have everything planned out, and I'll start going through it and putting it together, and it's like, dang, I'm missing this one part. I literally can't move forward with the video.
Oh, yeah.
And so I'll like, okay, I'm going to put it aside. I'm going to film something else. And so I'll like scramble to film something else, get that done, get it out the door. All right, we can go back to this project and start working that now. And I attempted to shoot it for the 3rd time today. I made it literally 60 seconds into the shoot.
Oh.
The cooler I bought doesn't fit.
Oh, man.
I hadn't checked clearances. I thought that I had, and I thought that I had a cooler that would fit. And went to put it down inside the case and went, nope.
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 Yeah. I hate when that happens. I was shooting a video yesterday, and I thought it was going to be fast, and then everything poured out, and it was really sticky situation. And so my hands were just sticky. I was like, this shot's not going the way I want. That's B-roll.
The worst.
I told him I'll be done in 30 minutes. It's a really quick thing, and the B-roll itself took an hour and a half. And it's like, that's only like 20 seconds of shooting or, once you're done editing. And it's just like, the angles just wasn't working, or the focus, it would never focus on it because the glass was being too reflective, or it constantly kept focusing on me. Or I'm trying to have me be the focus, but it kept focusing on the beverage. And I was just like, I don't have time for this.
Yep. Anyway, it's been a weird week. My middle kid started kindergarten this week. So she had her first 2 days of school. Very interesting times. Completely different than sending my first kid to kindergarten too, because it's like the first one was like super exciting. It's like, oh look, my baby's growing up, and oh she's off to kindergarten and everything else. With my second kid, it's like, boy, have we prepared her enough for this?
Yeah, I know, right? Oh, I know.
So going well so far, but yeah, little nerve-wracking, little anxiety around the house. So
yeah, I know. He comes back and tells us stories, and it's like, what? Why did you do that? Or what's going on? He got so this is his 6th day officially, and he got yesterday his first time out. And I was like, at the same time, I was like, yeah, that's my boy. But I was like, yeah,
get it out of the way early.
Yeah. But it was just like that initial thought, like, what dumb thing did you do now? Oh man, I just knew it. That total parent overreacting. It's like, oh my gosh. And it actually was nothing bad at all.
Yeah. You're like, I did that yesterday.
Yeah. He threw some bark chips up in the air, and the teacher said stop, and then he was like, well, I already have some in my hand. All right, walks away, throws some up in the air. Well, that's 1 minute in the corner. 1 minute.
LeBron James did on the way out.
Yeah. It's like, okay. Honestly, I'm not.
Peace, playground aid.
Yeah, basically. It's like, okay, whatever. It wasn't even the teacher.
Respect, son. Respect.
Yeah. Well, it's the same it's the same school I went to high school at. So I was like, yeah, I was in trouble at that school a lot. So I was like, yeah, still keeping the legend alive. It's cool.
Oh, you're John's kid.
That's actually happened during the interview. We had a lot of teachers come up to me and were like, oh, we heard stories about you. It's like, oh, man.
Anyway, let's go ahead and get the show on the road, starting with John, what are you drinking?
I am going to have I had a couple of beers from these people before. I had their pistachio beer. It was really good. Their almond, it was okay. But this is a tangerine cream ale by Indeed Brewing. So I'm thinking something along the lines of like an orange creamsicle. So
nice. So I'm not sure which IPA I want to start with. So I actually kind of want your opinion on this one, John.
Okay. There's a first.
I know you've had one.
Oh, okay.
Because you gave it to me. So I have yet to have this year's Waldo.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So I've got 2022 Waldo.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you've had this one. It is a beer you're familiar with, though. So this is Block 15's Sticky Hands, but it is the 2022 Brewer's Cut of Sticky Hands.
Okay.
Which instead of being a 2-hop blend, like the normal one is a 6-hop blend.
Well, okay. The Waldo's is a decent beer, but it is a big beer, and it is only 12 ounces.
Right.
I mean, are those the two you have for today?
I have one more, but it's a stout, and I'm going to finish with that.
Oh, okay. Honestly, I mean, I'd actually probably go with the Block 15.
Block 15 first? Okay.
Yeah, just because, the Waldo's is a good beer that you can at least still age for another year if you wanted to and be fine with, or as a good nightcap. So it's probably not a good beer to start off with.
Okay.
It was good this year. It wasn't like their best, but it was good.
Right. So yeah, this is the Block 15 Sticky Hands, which is a, if you've never had Sticky Hands, never heard of it, if you think some of the dankest, strongest, oiliest West Coast IPAs that are out there, this is near the top of that list. It is very, very good. It's a very excellent West Coast IPA, but you have to really like hops.
Yes. I mean, it is a West Coast hop.
Yeah. The Brewer's Cut actually, if I might say, is slightly milder than the regular sticky hands, because there's a little bit more of like this lemon zing to it right off the start. And it actually balances the beer much better, in my opinion, than the standard. So if you can find a 4-pack of this, or even a single, it's worth trying.
Yeah, I probably will.
So anyway, Block 15, Sticky Hands, 2022 Brewers Cut. 8.1%. We do have a couple people chiming in with their beverages. We've got Michael with the Flying Dog Double Dog 18 Triple IPA, 18%.
Jeez.
3.85 on Untapped. How does a triple IPA 18% only get a 3.85?
Well, I mean, it could just taste like malt liquor.
It could. You're flirting with some lines there, to be sure. Devel Hub's got a Toppling Goliath Radiant Haze IPA, 7%. Gets a 4.01 on Untapped. Meow Tuna is having an Epic Brewing out of Salt Lake City Hop Zombie.
Oh, yeah, I have seen that Flying Dog before. That's why I can sound it.
Arizona Motorhead sipping on Cap'n and Coke. Zero sugar is actually not bad. I don't mind a Coke Zero and rum. Normally, I can't stand most artificial sweeteners. I don't like stevia. I don't like aspartame. I don't like Splenda. But in mixed drinks, sometimes I'll make an exception.
Sean's actually having a very interesting one. It is a brewery from here, but it's their other brewery that is in New Mexico, and that's Ex Novo.
Ex Novo, yeah.
Yes. Mass Ascension IPA, but it is brewed in New Mexico.
Nice.
So you, sir, are drinking a beer from a brewer that's probably like 15 minutes from my work. So,
yep.
Well, the main one.
Yeah. Good times. Let's see. Kren chimes in with his usual and customary 2 Aussie bucks to say, "G'day, mates."
G'day.
G'day. All right.
Jeremy's got a cherry Coke.
Nice. Matty Dew's drinking a water and zero sugar Mountain Dew.
We have a standard that are a favorite amongst the show here. Starbuck Tech, Stone Brewery Sphere, and Movie Lions Double Hazy IPA. Yes, very good beer. Very good beer. We've had it a number of times on the show. My show, your show, the live shows.
Yep.
It appears often.
Movie Lions is such a good beer. Yep. It is one of my favorites from Stone. Let's see. American Cosworth, say Innocent Pinot Noir. Drinking a local wine.
Fancy.
That winery is actually 15 minutes from my house. So again, speaking of hitting close to home here. It's 11 a.m. in Melbourne, so I've got a sugar-free V energy drink for now. That's from Morkai. Yeah. Awesome. Cool. Good lineup, everyone. All right. Let's go ahead and jump into the news. And I warn you, the news is a little bit sporadic tonight.
Yeah.
Usually, like, before the release of something, like, we know AMD 7000's on the horizon. We know RTX 4000's on the horizon. We know Intel Raptor Lake is on the horizon. We know Intel Alchemist is on the horizon. There's, like, one story per everything. So instead of getting, like, a lot of graphics card leaks, we have, like, one GPU leak, one CPU leak. We do have a GPU story about pricing. We've got a new product from ASUS that's kind of competing with, like, single board computers, SBC kind of stuff. And then we have, like, a lot of random, some of them follow-up, some of them, like, new stories, but nothing is related tonight. So don't try to, like, listen to this in one sitting.
The segues
Boy, that
will
was
be very
disjointed.
interesting.
Right. It's a weird night to try to navigate the news. Anyway, starting off, we all knew that graphics card prices were coming down, but the average GPU price has halved since January of this year. So we knew the prices and the floor was just going to fall out from underneath GPUs when the mining crash eventually happened. And we all knew it was on the horizon. We all knew it was probably an inevitability this year. But how suddenly and how quickly it actually crashed. And I mean, this chart kind of says everything. Average MSRP over time. You can see $315 cards back in 2019 fell all the way to $267 on average, and then rose to $1,077 at their peak in Q3 2021. But we've been on the decline really since Q4 of 2021, but you can see the massive decline since then. We're not quite back down to 2019 level pricing, but I think that is more a symptom of GPUs themselves simply being more expensive. And I've talked about this a couple of times where NVIDIA has been stepping up their tiers as far as pricing segments go. The 60 series used to be your $220, entry to low mid-level graphics card. The 70 series used to be somewhere around $350 to $400, and the 80 series used to be, $500 or $600. And then you got your Titans, which could go all the way to $1,000, but even that was kind of rare. Starting with Turing, we started seeing that 80 series jump up a couple $100 to $799 instead of $599. We saw the 700 or the 70 series jump up a couple $100. The 60 series jumped up a couple $100. Even the 50 series, with the non-RTX cards, the GTX 1660 and so on, those were still pushing $300, $350 in most cases. And we're seeing the same thing again with Ampere-based cards, where the 60 series is selling for $400. That's double the price of what that same tier of graphics card was just 2.5 years ago. So I don't think this is quite the accurate chart as far as the average MSRP, because the prices of GPUs themselves for the bang for buck that you get is actually much more expensive these days. Now, they're faster cards, but obviously they're faster cards.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's
except for the RX 6500.
This is also just really nice to see. Even I'm seeing more availability. Price cuts are going down. It's still not like what it was. It's quite obvious, but yes, that 1077. That was early last year, and man, I mean, we were talking about that for a long time. It's ridiculous. I think, although you probably bought it around the 940 time, or when did you buy your cards?
I don't want to talk about it.
It was like the tier.
I don't want to talk about it. If I had to put it on the map, I bought my RX 6900 XT right here in Q1, and I bought my RTX 3090 in Q3. I don't want to talk about it. Yeah. I don't want to talk about those prices right now.
You're like, I could have bought a used car for my daughter. Yeah,
actually, yes. I could have bought a daily driver for what I paid for those two cards combined. Not a beater, but like a nice 2011 sedan. I paid Chevy Cruze money. Yeah, I think my eBay totals were $2,700 for the 3090 and $1,699 for the RX 6900 XT. Now, I needed those cards for specific projects, and at the time, because I'm not necessarily the biggest name GPU reviewer, and I was asking later into the cycle when it's like, yeah, we don't have any cards at all. We're not getting press cards anymore. So literally no one could find me anything. I mean, this was the time that even Linus couldn't get cards. He would ask for a review sample or had a project, and they're like, we have nothing to sell you.
Yeah. So. You have to return it. No, we can't.
Yeah. All the GPU reviews that I did last year, I had like 3 or 4 different AMD cards, and I think I did 1 NVIDIA card. All of those were loaners, which is weird for this industry. Usually OEMs want you to keep the card so you can use it multiple times over the course of 6 months or a year, use it in a build or two, do a comparison video like 6 months or a year from now.
Yeah.
Saying, hey, can you do a one-off review and then return it is really, really bizarre.
Please don't break it. Don't overclock it. Don't do anything. Just benchmark it. That's all you get to do.
Right.
And,
it was really fun because we always tear apart cards, and so if you're the third one on the list, it's like, yeah, I need to put new memory pads on this one.
We do have a super chat, but it's good news. The only reason I'm bringing it up is Tech Geek, very favorite fan of the show. I've been around for a long time. Evening, gents. Talked to my boss and took him up on his offer for a promotion to a supervisor role at another nearby location, 50% pay increase, full-time with benefits, and I'll get the keys to the kingdom. Gonna be a fun time. Thank you, sir. Congratulations.
Excellent.
And glad you know what you're worth.
Nothing like a 50% pay raise, let me tell you. There's nothing. There's really nothing more life-changing without like winning the lottery than getting a 50% pay bump. So congratulations. Good luck.
Good luck. Yeah, we always talk. It's one of the questions we get asked a lot of, what do I get charged or ask for a pay raise? And we always just sit there saying, that's not what we talk about. Know your worth. Mm-hmm. Tech Geek, again, he knew what he was worth and he went for it. And sometimes you just shoot for the moon, be like, this. So congrats, man.
I've done a number of negotiations for myself, both for contract purposes as well as for employment purposes. I've been on the other side of the table where I've talked wages and offered jobs and things like that, and had to go to negotiation over those. So it's always an interesting thing because as an employer, I always wanted to give the most to my employees. I was always advocating for raises for them. I was always advocating for, better benefits, more time off, that kind of thing. And trying to get them the best schedules and work-life balance and everything else that I could. I've always been of the philosophy, I don't like paying people for time. I like paying people for the work that they do. Yeah. And if you're happy and you're working and the work is getting done, I'm not going to question if you leave the office 10 minutes early. I'm not going to question if hey, I need to go pick up my daughter at 3:00 today. Yeah, cool. Because I know you're good for it. And I know you'll finish the job tomorrow if it's not already done. And that's never been a big deal with me. But when you work for organizations and corporations that literally charge to the second and hold you accountable for like, why did you clock out 3 minutes early this day? You know what? Go eat shit.
Yeah, I know. You left 2 minutes early for lunch. I was also in 10 minutes early and started work, Yeah.
Yeah, people say people say the new craze is silent quitting, where you do like the minimum amount of work and to keep your job. That's what you get if the only criteria you measure is how long they're on the clock.
Yeah.
Is you get people who don't care. If you care about your employees, guess what? They might care about the work that they do, and you'll get a better result in a faster time.
Yeah.
Because you have to be good to people. I don't know where along the line we lost that concept, but yeah. I even deal with that, now. Rhett works for me, essentially works full time for me. But he's on contract. I don't care what time he shows up. I don't care if he's going to be late today or needs to leave early or anything. It's like, I'm contracting you to do a job. I'm not contracting you to sit in my office, until 5 p.m. every day.
Yeah.
Never made sense to me.
Yeah. The work itself
unless it's
done.
like a cashier or like a customer facing, we are open business hours, etc. Like there needs to be someone there, and you need to be able to conduct business.
Yeah, we're not talking about. Well, there's also that you have to take pride in your work as a person too. Don't take advantage. Also, that there is that balance. There are people out there that take advantage of that type of generosity. No problem. So yeah, it's not always, but yeah. Just because your job might need you to be time requirement of like, hey, you're a bank teller or you're a restaurant, and you have to be, you're promised to be open at this time. If you're Domino's Pizza, a delivery guy, you can't just be like, well, I did my delivery today.
Right?
No, we have deliveries for the whole day.
Yeah, I wasn't necessarily speaking to like direct customer facing retail or hours of operations. I was talking more to
it's like project based,
right? So I mean, obviously stores have hours. You need to have store hours. Customers need to expect they can come in and buy something within those time frames. Yeah, you got to have someone at the register, whether they're working or not. But the same kind of rules apply. Like me as a business owner, if my employee needs to leave at 3:00 one day, guess what? That's probably on me to fill that void.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, and then there's a number of too. If that employee also then works hard and makes up, says, "Boss, I'll make up." You see that as an employer, he works hard, and he's asking, "Hey, I need this. Can I have it?" Okay, you're a hard worker, But if the person's constantly showing up late and saying, "Hey, I need to get out of here 2 hours early," you're always late. You're slacking off. You're doing the bare minimum, essentially. I've given you the benefit of the doubt. There's been plenty of strikes on you. I could have fired you, but I didn't. So.
Well, now you're getting into specifics. I think you got like names in mind.
That'd be me
I was
as
talking.
the boss.
I was talking generalities, and again, in general, if the work gets done and deadlines are met, I have no problem. With anything.
There you go. Yeah. Well, my owning that bar and having a couple of bad bartenders. Just like, what? Yeah. What did you say? What was your excuse again? Oh man, it's like, oh no.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I'm sorry, I don't get paid here. I don't take tips. So you're actually getting tips from my work, and I give you a free drink at the end of the night. What is your problem again? And basically, you're just sitting around getting to watch TV all day and pour beer.
Right.
Now, mind you, it's Star Trek you have to watch, sure, but at least it wasn't like TOS or the cartoon series.
Yep. You wouldn't force the animated series on anyone, would you?
No. Well, I mean, educational purposes.
Yeah, I mean, I believe it is required watching to go through everything, which is why I've decided I can't crap on Discovery until I watch Discovery, because I've watched everything else. Like I've watched the entire original series. I don't know that I've seen every episode of the animated series, but I've watched enough to get the gist of it.
Oh yeah.
I've obviously watched completely through multiple times TNG, DS9, Voyager. Enterprise, I can't say again that I've seen every episode, but I've seen well over 70%. And so it's like, I don't know that I need to sit through and watch it to get an understanding. Yeah. But Discovery, I checked out early. I went like 2 episodes and I went, I'm done.
No,
I can't.
So you saw that Klingon makeup. Nope.
No, it wasn't even that. It wasn't even aesthetics, because there's always aesthetic differences between shows, but depending on who the showrunner is, depending on who they hired for makeup and costuming and director's vision and the vision of everyone they hired, there's always differences, and there's always someone that's trying to put their mark on something. And so trying to can't believe I'm going to bring up Tolkien. Trying to.
How many comments are we going to get off just from that?
Oh, good God. I love the comment section of our last Talking Heads because it just cemented the criticism that I had towards the comments that were coming because...
Yeah. Everyone just read the title. They're like, I don't want to listen to that one part that we're talking about. Let's just read the title and then just comment. It's like, what?
I don't think I've ever had a subject on Talking Heads that I got the word vomit on a page like last week. I've never had a subject where I've talked about something and had an opinion, and in this case it was, quit being a bunch of racists, you bastards. And people go, that's a bad take, bro, because it's also a bad story.
Like, okay, we didn't talk about the story. We both sat there and stated we didn't see that. We're critiquing the other part.
Yeah, I'm critiquing you all being a bunch of racist bastards, and they're like, yeah, but the story sucks too. And I'm like, yeah, it might. That's not what we talked about. Yeah. We literally didn't say that multiple times. They even quoted me. One guy quoted me. The only other time I've gotten that reaction is when I said wine is an emulator of sorts.
Oh, I remember that.
And when I wrote that phrase, I wrote that very specifically. Gosh, we are just going all through the weeds today. First story, we're into the weeds. When I write scripts, I do what I like to call the Penn and Teller approach. And what I mean by that is if you've ever seen Fool Us, it's their Vegas show where Penn and Teller invite magicians to perform for them. And the idea is that Penn and Teller have to guess how the trick was performed. And if the magician fools them, guess what? They get a trophy and whatnot, and a giant FU and things like that. When I say the Penn and Teller method, what I'm talking about is after the trick has been performed, Penn and Teller will kind of converse with themselves, or at least Penn will talk and Teller will listen.
They discuss what's going on.
They discuss what's going on, and then Penn will say, you really had us fooled there with the like they'll use
the John's handshake.
No, they'll use very very strong worded references that are very, very specific.
Yeah.
They'll
it's a
boy, you
nickname
really pulled the wool over our eyes on that, and they'll stress that part. You really pulled the wool over our eyes. And to the audience, they're not revealing anything.
Yeah.
They're telling the magician, we think you have you fooled, and we think we have it down, and here's our explanation. And the magician will either go, oh yeah, no, it was totally the wool. And then the magicians are now on the same page. They're in the know. They are people who I don't have to explain what sudo in Linux does. They're the people that I don't have to explain what a compatibility layer or a driver or a kernel is. You use those exact phrases and those exact correct terminologies because in one very short sentence, I can get all of the experts and all of the people who already know everything that I'm talking about onto the same page. For everyone else, I've just given the Google search term if you want to learn what this actually is. And so, when I wrote, wine is an emulator of sorts, it's because the closest thing that you can get to a compatibility layer is another technology that everyone already knows, which is emulation. And emulation comes in many forms. And in fact, compatibility layer, the definition on Wikipedia at the time that I wrote that, was a form of emulation, a form of high-level emulation.
Yeah.
Did it need long-winded paragraphs and word vomit and literally people writing books to me about how wrong I was to compare wine? They named it not an emulator for a reason. I know. But if you're fooling the software to run on hardware or software it's not supposed to, That's still a form of high-level emulation.
Yes.
It was getting us all on the same page so we can move on, not to have the argument about whether or not wine is emulation.
Yeah.
And so, I do that kind of writing. I do that kind of explanation, and I like it when people do that because it makes videos and scripting and everything else so much simpler, and it gets everyone on the same page at the same time, and we can move on to the next subject. Let's see. Is it sudo or sudo? Technically, it is sudo. But also technically it's GIF. So I'm going to say mine my way. You say yours the other way. Guess what? We both know what we're talking about.
Yeah.
And neither of us is wrong, because that's how communication works.
I like how one article got us talking about GPU prices, the amount you overspent, Star Trek, employment,
salaries,
Tolkien. All because of GPU prices.
That's how we roll around here. You got to be ready to pivot. You know who else is always ready to pivot? Today's sponsor, Linode. If you ever wanted to host your own servers, whether it be for home or business, but don't have the resources to invest into hardware, power, cooling, time, or even space, why not let Linode host them for you? If it runs on Linux, it will run on Linode. That includes the software for most of my tutorials on the channel, like how to run your own ad-blocking recursive DNS server, VPN gateways, your own cloud-based Plex server, and more. With shared CPU plans starting at as little as $5 per month and scaling up to as high as you need to go, you'll be able to find a hosting plan that fits your needs. Even if you do host your own servers, you can use Linode to keep a backup off-site. Because remember, RAID is not a backup. Linode also announced last year they were the first alternative provider to start giving NVMe block storage to all customers. Last year, they began rolling out NVMe drives to all 11 of their global data centers. Best of all, storage rates remained at the same low price they always have been. Visit Linode.com and /craftcomputing and get a $100 60-day credit just for signing up for a new account. That's Linode.com /craftcomputing, and again, a huge thanks to Linode for sponsoring today's episode.
Thank you, Linode. I was going to say, I like calling it pseudo-sue, like the beer.
Pseudo-sue?
Toppling Goliath.
Well, that's quasi-sue, though. It's pseudo-sue. It's fake sue. Yeah. So the original creator of GIF named it GIF and wanted it to be named GIF. And I feel if you created something that is noteworthy and continues on, you get naming rights to it. That's basic geography, astronomy, everything else. If you discover a moon, you get to name that moon. I mean, that's how it's always worked. Unless you were Columbus and go like, screw you, Leaf, I'm naming this. Anyway, I was looking into pseudo, and I just had the conversation about GIFs, and someone brought up, it's supposed to be pronounced sudo, right? Well, that doesn't sound right. Every single person I've ever known in this industry has said pseudo, or at least they've written pseudo. Am I saying it wrong? And I asked all of my colleagues, and they're like, no, it's pseudo. And I said, that's what I thought. Until I get online, and the creator of the command says, no, it's supposed to be sudo. Super user do action. And I went, well, that's just shit.
It kind of makes sense when you put it that way.
Yeah. So.
Is it SQL or is it SQL?
Oh, it's SQL. It's SQL.
Oh, I'm an SQL guy.
Oh, God.
I mean, I call it both, honestly.
Yeah.
But I prefer SQL.
So yeah, again, communication. Call it what you want. As long as your point gets across, it's still valid.
Yeah.
I know it's Ubuntu. If you say Ubuntu, guess what? Everyone still knows what you're talking about.
Well, there's probably going to be some other version that like, oh, we're purposely going to make it sound more like that.
It's technically new Linux.
Yeah.
Which is GNU Linux. Yeah. People suck. I think that's what we learned in that article. People sucked.
Yep.
All right, moving on. There are some leaks. And I say leaks because, man, we're really close to release. We've already seen, like, Zotac cards pictured with, like, rounded edges. And we're getting some what look like finalized specs for RTX 4090 and 4080 based GPUs. They're purported to have 16 gigs and 12 gigs, respectively, of GDDR6X. The 4090 will have 24. The 4080 will have either 12 or 16, depending on the variant that you get. And both cards, both the 12 and 16 gig cards, will launch simultaneously. So you can choose if you need 12 or if you need 16. Kind of a weird
that is a very
place
odd...
to split it. Yeah. As if NVIDIA needed excuses for more SKUs. Anyway, the RTX 4090 is going to use an AD102 based GPU die with 16,384 CUDA cores, up from the current generation 3090 of, 10,768? Or the 11,000 you can get on the 3090 Ti and the Ampere A100. Boost clock of up to 2,500 megahertz and 24 gigs of GDDR6 memory, supposedly clocked at 21 gigabit per second. It will reach the same 1 terabyte of bandwidth capacity that the RTX 3090 Ti did, but have significantly more CUDA horsepower behind it, supposedly up to double the performance of the current 3090. The 3080 is going to debut with, again, both 16 or 12 gigabytes of video memory. And they actually will also be 2 different dies. With the 4080 coming in with the AD103 and 9,728 CUDA cores. Very similar specs, GDDR6 and 23 gigabit per second memory bandwidth. Interestingly enough, faster memory bandwidth than the 4090. Lastly, the RTX 4080 12 gig will come in with an AD104 with 7,680 CUDA cores and boost up to 2,600 megahertz, so slightly higher boost. Not unusual for a slightly stripped down GPU model. 12 gigs of GDDR6X and 21 gigabit per second modules. The interesting thing is the lower of these 3 cards, the 4080 12 gig, is going to have a TDP of 285 watts. And it can go all the way up to 366 watts under full load.
That's going to be a big power brick. A big power supply. Sorry, you're going to need.
Yeah, I mean
all of these. I mean the 4090. You need a 500 watt power supply just for the card.
660 watts.
Yeah,
660 watts. The current 3090, I think, draws somewhere in the neighborhood of 500 at peak. So 660 watts just for the GPU. With some of the higher end CPUs that are coming out with the 180 watt TDP, we're nearly seeing 1,000 watts of draw just from CPU and GPU combos, not including the rest of your system, not including the 5 to 6 watts a piece for DIMM slots or your 3 or 4 watts for your NVMe or whatever spinning storage or anything else that you have. 1,000 watts just in the CPU and GPU.
I mean, if you had one of these computers like maxed out, basically you wanted to go by the top of everything, top of the line of everything, you're going to need a dedicated circuit in your house just to run that computer, essentially. And then you will see your power supply just start spinning like mad the moment you turn that thing on.
You realize 1,300 watts is a 15 amp circuit, right? Is a 15 amp 110 circuit, right?
I know, yeah. You're going to blow your house.
Yeah.
If you just tried plugging that in, and boom, you're going to probably blow the house you try playing any game. Well, you probably wouldn't max it out, but still. Right. Someone puts a vacuum on the same server. There goes. You're going to blow.
Think of some newer like monitors. My monitor is an Aorus 43-inch 144 hertz panel. It by itself can draw like 75 watts, and that doesn't sound like a whole lot. Like, when you or I were in high school, like 75 watts, that was a light bulb. Yeah. Now with LEDs, it's like, oh yeah, it's 6 watts for the same amount of light, right? Well, so our circuits like dramatically dropped in power, and power load went down. We're in a day and age with computers now that we're going to start pushing those household circuits again.
Yep.
Remember your lighting needing like 4 separate circuits in your house just in case you turned on all the lights at once?
Yes. Oh, gosh.
Now I can turn every light in my house on full blast, and it's like 120 watts.
I know. I have batteries that are technically more powerful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, although looking at this was funny, all I kept imagining was when you're going through the spec, it reminded me of something, because we were talking about the 3080, when it was rumored. This was years ago.
Yep.
And we were looking at the specs and be like, oh my gosh, and the price, there's no way this is going to be the greatest thing ever. All this kind of reminded me of, and you've watched Top Gear before.
Oh, of course.
And especially the British one, the good one, the original one. When they were talking about the Bugatti Veyron and being like, impossible. The idea of having 1,000 horsepower in a street legal car braking, I think it was like 250 miles an hour.
Right.
And then I just went and looked up, like, what's the top car? It's again another Bugatti. It's the Bugatti Chiron.
Yeah.
304.
Yeah.
And it's just like, what were we in awe of back then? Just the leaps and bounds now of everything. The amount of power it's taking to do that is tremendous.
Right.
Obviously. But wow, technology and everything is just pushing so much faster and farther. And the amount of cores and memory we're able to have is just intense. Like you were talking about, like having a 7080 was a couple, 10 years ago. Yeah, or less than that. Was decent. I could do whatever I want.
Right. Yeah, 1080, 1070. Right.
I could do whatever I want. This is great. 2 gigs, 4 gigs, I'm fine. We're talking at 24 gigs here. This is also
to be fair, I did buy the 3090 specifically for video editing because I edit ProRes LT. That's what I shoot pretty much all my videos in, and it takes a fair amount of memory to keep that cranking. I'll easily use 12 to 16 gigs in a single cut. So it's great that I have it. Still don't like what I paid for it, and I'm even more upset that I can buy one on eBay right now for $750.
Yeah.
Not even kidding. I want to buy one just to piss myself off.
Tell you what, you want to piss yourself off really a lot? Buy one and then just give it to me.
Right.
For free. Just let me have it.
Yeah, boy, that's a tempting offer.
If you really want to piss yourself off, Jeff, I will let you do that.
Yeah. I mean, I have a 3070 I'm not even using.
That's what pisses me off.
I'm kidding. I'm using it.
Yeah. To like render some crappy HTML website.
No. It looks great on my shelf.
You.
Intel Arc is in the news. Or maybe it's not. Or maybe it's canceled. Or maybe it's not. Who actually knows? So Intel's yet to be released officially. However, they've gotten some Eastern region releases. Stateside, I think ASUS has the only official one that's out in the A380, and it's still the lower tier of the card. We're still waiting for A770s to hit. And already we're hearing like rumors that Arc is circling the drain. Like Intel is thinking internally about canceling the entire program, enterprise, consumer, everything, all in one shot. Well, yeah, that's according to Moore's Law is dead. That's kind of the feeling with some internal Intel insiders about Arc GPUs. That even though Alchemist kind of made its soft launch and whatnot, they're not happy with the performance. They're not happy with the early results, the early turnouts with the market, and they're just thinking about folding it. Which seems so bizarre that you would invest literally billions of dollars. I mean, coming up with your own technology, graphics technology, is not a cheap business, and it's why AMD and NVIDIA have no competition. Is the only people who can get into competition with AMD and NVIDIA are someone like Intel, maybe Apple. It's a pretty short list. Qualcomm may be on that list in the fringes, but it's a very, very short list. Anyway, I don't have any direct news. I don't have any direct anything that I can really report on, other than the rumors are out there. I have talked to at least one person who, not going to name, not even going to drop any hints, who does have more direct contacts and says that they don't think the rumors are accurate. So that's my only insight into the situation.
Yeah.
It is definitely weird, and it's definitely weird that Intel is not making a stance on this one way or the other. Like I said, if you were releasing a product, you'd be shouting it to the mountaintops, going, we're entering this market. We're trying to make a splash. We're doing this. They're going to be this price. Intel has done none of that, and Intel traditionally does all of that. They go full media blitz with a lot of their different product lines and SKUs and everything else. The fact that they did a soft launch of both XE graphics and the A380, the Alchemist A380, definitely shows they don't have very much confidence in the product right now. But everything that I've heard is there's so much potential with the product. And I think killing it would be a huge mistake on Intel's part. But
we talked about it. Yeah, it was. Yeah, we talked about Intel going into the Arc, and it being we thought a really good decision, especially for the lighter laptops, Surfaces, phones, whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
Just the smaller devices. It makes sense. I guess the only thing that would be bad is if for some reason they aren't getting the performance they were thinking of, and then they just don't want to embarrass themselves, or it's constantly dying. I don't know, but the thing is, though, what happened to Ryzen? And their first release, it was okay. You release it out, but
it was all right. It was not competitive. It was not competitive in every single area. It was competitive in very specific areas, and that was targeting the high-end desktop multi-threaded market. Yeah. And right off the bat, Ryzen did change that market. And that's kind of what I've said all along when I first heard the rumors that Intel was going to resurrect their GPU project, which had failed multiple times over throughout the last decade, is you don't have to compete top to bottom in every single market and every single SKU and every single price point right off the bat. You have to be competitive in one. You have to show that there's value in your product, even if it's this sliver of the market that you slide out for yourself. And from what I was hearing, Intel was kind of doing that. Now, they're definitely not... First-gen Intel, I don't think is ready for prime time because it's not very backwards compatible. DX12 and Vulkan, definitely a good product.
Yeah.
DX11 backwards compatibility, DX9, there's like no support. The results are laughably bad. But that's because the focus has been on getting modern SKUs, modern APIs up and running and compatible, and getting the drivers ready to roll. And you start from the current and then you work your way back. Whereas NVIDIA and AMD both have 25, 30 years of driver experience to lean on. They know all the optimizations they've already made, and the optimizations they either made and then moved on to a new architecture, they're strong enough they could just brute force their way through it. Because, let's face it, graphics technology from 8 years ago, you don't really need a lot of power to run. I mean, Crysis will run on integrated graphics now, for God's sakes.
Yeah.
But even if Intel came in and they said, we're going to be competitive between $200 and $250, that's still a shot across the bow. That is still showing the market that you're here to play. And even if there's hiccups, even if there's Ryzen certainly had its first and second generation hiccups as far as memory compatibility, odd issues, incompatibilities with certain workloads and software.
Maybe they're just like, we don't want to be the underdog anymore. We're always considered the top dog, so we can't start below our belts. I don't know. I mean, we don't know. We're speculating still, but there's very little information. But I don't. It just doesn't make sense that they would back off on something like this. We don't know if they are. It's just a rumor that they might back off, but maybe they're taking a step back. I hope they're not, and I hope they don't take too long to launch it, because then it's going to definitely be obsolete. Because by the time, if you wait too long on a lot of this stuff, a year or two, it's like, yeah, well, someone else was already working on something. This is not that great, and you lost a lot of money.
Yeah. But sunk cost fallacy aside, I think spending multiple billions of dollars to the tune of somewhere probably between $3 and $4 billion and not even producing a product out of it, or producing a product in such limited quantities that will never be I think that's also a very bad move.
Oh yeah, totally. I mean,
even if the results, even if in their second generation or third generation, the results go, you know what, we didn't scale it as high as we wanted to go, but man, we're now competitive with AMD APUs. We now have technology that we can compete with AMD's 5700G or whatever their current generation APU happens to be. Intel can go, look, we're not going to produce a 6900 XT competitor. But if you're buying a motherboard and a CPU, right now, Intel integrated graphics, while they've made decent strides over the years, they are laughably slow compared to even Vega 8. Even if what they learn with Intel Xe and Alchemist just makes them better with integrated graphics, that still keeps Intel competitive at every level of the market in the CPU and APU marketplace. So there's still value in continuing that research.
Yeah.
In my opinion. But I'm definitely not Pat Gelsinger. I'm definitely not Roger Kaduri. I definitely have no specific insight into that market or anything related to it. I'm just a guy with an opinion. Anyway, we did miss a couple of super chats.
We did.
Let's see. Cosworth chimed in with $5. Looks like GPU prices are being a victim of inflation as well. That was referencing the bottoming out, but not quite coming all the way down to the bottom. No, this predates the record inflation, which I have my own personal views on the use of the word inflation in today's market. I think it's supply and demand at work, which does impart inflation, but I think the majority is short supply, high demand for pretty much every product. There's not an industry that has not been touched in the last 2.5 years by COVID-19 and everything else, all the fallout from that. There's been short supply in every single raw material, every single industry, every single shipping yard, both shipping and receiving on all corners of the globe. And it's probably going to be another 5, 6, 7, 8 years before we completely dig our way back out. I don't think that's inflation. I think that's supply demand. I think it's narrower focus than just saying, oh, the dollar is worth less. I think it's harder to get things, and so people are willing to spend a higher price. Which you could argue is inflation, but therefore companies are like going, oh, we can charge a higher price. Cool. Which, yes, both of those things lead to inflation, but I don't think inflation is the root cause. I think it's a symptom of supply and demand. But again, I'm not an economist. This is not financial advice. That's not why you tune into this channel.
We don't do that on this show. We talk tech, beard, Star Trek.
Yeah. And employment negotiations. Cosworth, $2. Wine is not an emulator. Yeah. So they say.
That argument.
Denver sends over $2. Thank you very much. Chiming in with Phil Collins' favorite Linux command, sudo. Whoa. Denver, another $2. Should have gotten a 5700G and 128 gigabytes of VRAM. I think he's talking to John on
he was
talking video editing.
Yeah, he was talking to me. We were chatting. Although I told him, Ryzen and Adobe don't really like each other that well a lot of times.
Yep. All right. How's your beer doing?
I was gonna say, I already finished mine. Did you open yours?
I had a tiny bit left in the bottom of my can, so I just went ahead and poured it.
I saw you poured, and I was like, oh, it's 7, and I had like a sip, so I was like, I'll finish it off.
So yeah, if you wanna intro your next one.
All right, so I am doing Weldworks Brewing Company. This is another light beer. It's a watermelon cotton candy sour cotton candy sour ale. It's a sour ale with cotton candy, milk sugar, watermelon juice, and natural flavors. So, yay.
Nice.
And I was relaxing today, and I was like, I just want something light.
So Novella says, no jacket required, Craft Computing, referencing the Phil Collins album that has Susudio. And that's the one with the merry-go-round on the CD jacket. I know because I still have that CD. Anyway, my second beer is from Lagunitas. It is the Waldo's Special Ale Triple IPA, 11.7%. This is an annual release right around mid-April.
Toward the end, it's supposed to be,
slightly more towards the end than the beginning.
Yeah.
But it's released for a specific. We can't call it a holiday. It's released for certain festivities that happened right around April 15th, maybe a couple days later.
+5, yeah.
Actually, funny enough, John, did you look in Battle Bridge today on the Discord? So the admin on Discord, we all have a private chat. I shared an ad that we got approved today. You need to watch it after the show.
Okay.
Speaking of April and what may or may not be the 20th.
When?
Earlier today. It was.
Oh, there's nothing on Battle Bridge.
Yeah, there is. Are you in Ready Room or Battle Bridge?
I'm in Battle Bridge.
Battle Bridge.
Are you sure
Scroll
it wasn't
up like.
Ready? Oh.
Yes. Scroll up like 5 posts. I posted a video link. Don't describe it. Don't describe the thumbnail.
I didn't. I thought that was like something else. I'm sorry.
It's a great thumbnail image too.
Oh, it's so great. Oh my god. I thought it was something. That's why I was like, I'm looking for something. Oh no, man, that's funny.
So yeah, we got an ad approved today that I wasn't sure what was going on. I actually was a little anxious about this one. So everyone knows I love doing funny ads. Number one, they're more fun for me. Number two, they're more engaging with the audience. They get a better response, which means I can charge more money. I mean, that's just the basic economics of me putting a little bit of effort instead of going, today's video is brought to you by blah, 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 blah. Click the link in the description to learn more. Everyone hates that. Everyone skips them. I try to...
It's so dumb. It's so dumb. Oh man, how did that get approved?
It got approved. So when can we expect to see this new ad? Probably next week.
That's a good one, Joe. That's one of your top ones. That's probably the best one yet so far, actually.
I mean, Manscaped set a pretty high bar. This one's up there.
I was like, the thumbnail's funny, but then I saw you. That was great. It's good.
I can't wait for this one to go live. I really can't.
It's a good one. So everyone,
it's really sad when I get more excited for like, I can't wait for you guys to see the ad in the next video. Like, it's going to be some server thing. It's going to be cool, but the ad.
Oh, I know. Oh, that's great. It's good. So yeah, you got to make sure to like and subscribe to Craft Computing if you like this content, so you'll be up to date.
Yep.
Hit that, and hit that like on here on this video. That's great.
So Rhett and I were filming that, and we were cracking up so much even during filming. We've got like 20 minutes of bloopers, just from 15 to 25 seconds of dialogue in that one.
Man.
While we were editing, just the phrases kept repeating, like we're trying to get the cuts right and the dialogue on top of each other and everything. We're just busting up laughing.
Wait, did you have those props already?
No. You know what happened? We came up with this idea for this ad, and we're like, we need a couple wigs. If we're gonna do this the way we want to do it, we're gonna have to buy a couple wigs. Is Spirit Halloween open yet? And Rhett's like, I don't think they are. I haven't even seen their storefront open. And I went, they're open till 9. It says they're open. It's like 5 o'clock, and I went, they're open till 9. Can we do it? and he goes, yeah, let's jump in the car. And I said, actually, you know what? There's a Goodwill on the way. And Goodwill usually has like a little Halloween section. I don't know if that's up yet, but let's swing in and see. We walked in and we bought Rhett's shirt, Rhett's wig, my shirt, my wig in one shot.
Those are some good ones.
There were 3 wigs. Those were 2 of them.
Oh my gosh.
Like, and Rhett's is good. Mine is amazing.
Yours is amazing. Oh, it's... I can see you using it. Although Rhett's like matches Rhett.
Oh God. Both our wigs are like perfect.
They're great. They're fantastic.
But yeah, that was literally just, I drove down to the closest Goodwill and we walked out with 2 shirts and 2 wigs and they matched us perfectly.
It's so great. Love it. Oh, we should probably get...
I can't wait for this one. Oh, I'm on my show right now.
It's good.
Hi.
Can you put my ear up so I know what he's saying?
Nope. Not gonna put the ear on.
Aww.
But they all saw you wave.
What he said?
They said congratulations on kindergarten. Because you started kindergarten.
Wow.
And I told them you started. Are you having fun?
Yeah.
Awesome. All right.
I love how good I get it.
They did. All right. Say goodnight to everyone.
Good night.
All right.
look at the battle.
I just saw it. Yes, that will be an emoji as soon as it goes live. And that is a heavily color graded image. I have the original in ProRes RAW. So I can color grade it however we want, get all the highlights perfect. Like, trust me, it'll be a thing.
If you can give that to me, I don't know if Rhett's watching, but if you can give that to me, I can go take it to my print company and I can blow it up into a giant poster. and then we can make Rhett like have to hang it in his living room.
I almost made Rhett shave everything and have the mustache again for this section of it. Again, without giving away anything, like I almost made him just like take it all off again.
Yes. Send me that picture. I will get it printed and blown up. I will put it. Oh, that's perfect. I want that in my studio. I want that in my background. It's so good.
What guy in the 80s didn't have that poster? like there was some band that you had a poster and that was the CD cover on whatever album.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, of course. Rhett's not watching. He has internet issues.
Actually, he got them fixed. I hear he got them fixed. So.
Oh, okay.
I also loaned him my Starlink dish. I said, "Here, go plug this in. You'll have internet."
Yeah.
And he did. He got like 85 megs down, 20 megs up. He goes, "I'm happy."
He could have done the show then.
Yeah. Oh, totally could have done the show. Hey, Trippic says he'll be able to join the after show tonight. We'll get some Kiwi representation back in.
There we go.
Been missing you.
Oh,
where you been?
Right.
How was the move? Questions for the after show.
Hey.
We'll get to that. Hey, we're on to our fourth story, just an hour and 15 minutes in. Intel obviously is getting ready to release Raptor Lake sometime in the next month or so. And Intel is claiming that their top-end Raptor Lake CPUs will have stock boost clocks of up to 6 gigahertz. Now, obviously, the megahertz wars and the gigahertz wars, I mean, that's my bread. That's where I grew up. I grew up on those streets. We went from 233 to a gigahertz in less than 3 years. It was some crazy times back then. And back then, it was completely linearly scaled. It was, here's your 233. Oh, here's some process improvements. And here's that same CPU at 1 gigahertz. It was insanity. So the megahertz wars may be kind of heating back up again. We've been seeing, ever since Ampere got released, we've been seeing GPU frequencies hitting like 2300 megahertz, very on the regular. CPU frequencies, once they hit 5 gigahertz, they kind of leveled off for a while, but all of a sudden we're going 5.3, 5.5, 5.7, and now Intel laying it down at 6 gigahertz. I'm here for it.
Yeah. No, this would be great.
I can't wait for battles like this to come back. This is so much fun when companies do this. And again, when there's competition, we win as consumers. Now, we may end up with CPUs and GPUs that are extensively draw too much power. And we're kind of seeing that with the 4090 and the alluded to 660 watt power draw just from that. I have power supplies that I use on the regular that are 430, 550 watts, like in that range. Like, the thought that I could attach every single rail to a 4090 and it would blow is insane. Like, I understand the 430 if I plugged it into my 3090 going like, yeah, I can't boost as high. But it would still run it. No chance. Yeah. No chance on a 4090. But yeah, when frequencies start pushing higher, temps get higher, more power draw. I think in the next couple of generations, there's going to be a renaissance both of a megahertz battle and of an undervolting battle. Because that same kind of thing also happened with Pentium 4s, where they went, holy crap, my CPU's hitting 95 degrees out of the box with a third-party cooler. You know what? If you dial it back 200 megahertz, it hits 70. And I'm feeling that same kind of feeling when Prescott came out, when Intel Prescott made its debut. And then later on, what was the Pentium D architecture? The first generation Pentium D, the first dual core. That architecture was astronomically hot. It also ran at 3.6 gigahertz back in the day, which doesn't sound like a lot today, but when you consider most of the CPUs in that era were like 2.8. 3.6 was the high bar. Oh, and we doubled it with 2 CPU cores. So I'm excited. I'm excited for this upcoming generation of technology, more so than I've been excited for a very long time, probably dating back to the debut of the very first Threadripper, which coincidentally was episode 1 of Talking Heads. We talked about Threadripper got announced.
Yes.
So I mean, I'm starting to feel like I've been in this scene for long enough.
It feels weird.
It feels weird, right? Like I'm more than 5 years into this now, and it's feeling weird that I can call back to like, yeah, that got launched the same week I launched my channel, or the same week that we did our first Talking Heads. And that was the last time that I was genuinely that excited. Because of all the launches that we've had, I wasn't around as a channel or as a personality, influencer, whatever you want to call me, for the launch of Ryzen, for the launch of the 1700, 1800, and so on. That was in March of 2017. We did our first live show, first Talking Heads, I believe August of 2017, which was the week that Threadripper was announced. And again, the early influence of Ryzen was squarely targeting Intel's high-end desktop platform. It was squarely targeting X299, X99. Yep. And made an impact right away. And Threadripper was we don't need to make this threat, but we're going to. We're going to come out with a 16-core processor. And it was competitive immediately with the 7980XE. It was insane how competitive it was, especially given the price difference of $1,800 versus $1,000 for a 1950X. So again, we haven't seen this kind of battle since that time. Like there's been some big launches. There was Zen 2 and Zen 3 were really big launches. Coffee Lake was a really big launch for Intel with the 8000 series, finally moving to 6-core on the consumer desktop. But when I started in 2017, Pascal had already launched. And I think the Vega 64 came out right around the same time that I was launching. And so, but Vega wasn't like all that inspiring. Like, yeah, it's competitive with the 1080, but at like 50% more power draw. It wasn't as competitive as I think some people wanted it to be. Now, fine wine, it did very well. It's actually very competitive with the 1080 Ti these days because of driver optimizations and things like that. But at the time, it was kind of like, it was a lukewarm reception. There haven't been really any consumer or high-end desktop launches that have compared with that. On the enterprise space, Epic Rome is probably the next biggest one that I can remember. That it's like, we're dropping 64 cores onto a single CPU. Oh, and you can put 2 of them onto a same board. Where Intel had 28 core CPUs. And the 32 core was like, we want to crush you. And the 64 core is, and we mean it.
Yeah.
So that was a company throwing down. And there hasn't, those are very few and far between moments.
Yeah, there really hasn't been anything impressive. I mean, like, now that I think back, the Ryzen, launch was. And like I said, I thought Zen 2 was better than Zen 1 of the Threadripper, just because, they worked a lot of the bugs out. Jeez, set on my headphones. And so that was very nice to see them. It was just a skyrocket. And all of the news for like the year and a half was Intel's got nothing. It was just us talking about how people are saying Intel's still in the game when they really weren't. And then Intel is still doing their typical, we boosted like 15% performance. Check it out. Here's the next SKU line. And it was just nothing. So yeah, you're right.
Remember when Intel had no competition and it was like, here's your 7% performance gain year over year. Here's your 7% performance gain. It's like the reviews wrote themselves for like 6 or 7 years on Intel CPUs. Everything from Sandy Bridge to Coffee Lake was, we're going to give you another 7%. It's like, I know you're shelving performance. I know you're holding out.
Yeah.
I know, Intel, you've got more in the bank. And as it turns out, they had more in the bank. It was just all on 14 nanometer.
Yeah, that was their other issue. Their SKUs.
Right.
They were screwed. Yeah, we were talking more of just about the horrible production of Intel, but there hasn't been a big advancement. The only other large thing was in the 3080s and 3070s, basically 30 series.
Yeah, Ampere has been the biggest GPU announcement that I've been excited for since I've been in this space. Pascal was the previous one, where it's like Pascal was like, man, they took 900 series performance, they took Maxwell, and they literally doubled it. So it's been 6 or 7 years since we've seen NVIDIA or AMD either going, we're going to double the previous generation's performance. And everyone was pretty happy with Ampere. Like, Ampere was finally the response to Pascal that we had wanting. Turing, we knew all along, was pretty much a stopgap. But these Ada, these Lovelace CPUs, boy.
Yeah, I'm just, again, curious, going back to the power supply of everything, of I didn't actually get to see the power draw on these chips. Max Turbo. Did you see the power supply draw?
From the Intel chips?
Yeah.
I haven't seen any power specifics for Intel. I have for AMD, and AMD is moving up their power targets from 105 and 120 watts on all of their existing Ryzen lineup up to 185 watts for some of their higher end chips for like the 7950X and so forth.
That's what we're going to be seeing though. And I'm just sitting there thinking, okay, I know these chips are going to be higher. I'm just, man, it's cutting into your bills. It's cutting into your, you have these in your work, and depending upon your business, this is going to include your power supply and your everything else. Is like, it's great to have the performance, but I also kind of want the budget Honda Accord, Mazda Civic. I want the thing that still gets the job done with a good performance.
Did you say Mazda Civic?
I think I did.
You said You said Honda Accord,
I said Honda Accord,
Mazda
Civic. Oh man, I feel bad. But you know what I meant.
Toyota Corolla, which, by the way, did you see the Toyota Corolla news from today?
I did not.
Toyota announced a brand new Corolla. It's a Corolla RS, or GE, I think is what they're calling it. GS, something like that. It is a 4-door hatchback, so the hot hatches... GR. The hot hatches are back. It is a 3-cylinder, 1.6-liter turbocharged engine that's good for 300 horsepower, 295 foot-pounds of torque.
Ooh, actually looks pretty cool looking too.
Like, the hot hatch is back, baby.
Yeah.
Back with a vengeance. Oh, all-wheel drive, too. And 6-speed manual. You can still get it in a manual. Like,
I could use that as a daily driver, because you could put those back seats down. You got a lot of space to move stuff, haul stuff around.
It's a good-looking car.
It's a good-looking car.
It's been a while since Toyota, without the help of Subaru or BMW, has produced anything that kind of gets me excited.
Cool.
A 3-cylinder turbo engine that's good for 300 horsepower.
Yeah.
But
again, that's what I want.
That does things to my brain and other parts.
In chips. I also want, as much as I love seeing, the Hertz race, I want to see the power skew race where it drops.
So sorry. Here is an Intel slide showing Raptor Lake power draw. 253 watts at the top of the chart for the 13900K, which is the 24 core 32 thread.
Oh.
So 8 performance cores, 16 efficiency. The performance cores are hyper threaded, so 2 threads, 1 core.
Yeah.
125 watt base power, that is at the base clock speed of 3 gigahertz and 2.2 gigahertz respectively for E and P cores. And 253 watts at max power.
It's still a lot.
Yeah. Even the i5s are hitting 180 watts.
Yeah.
And I'm curious to see what AMD actually measures in at. AMD is typically a little bit more accurate when it comes to saying what their CPUs will actually draw when you install them and turn them on. A 65 watt chip usually draws right around 65 watts at max power. Whereas Intel, it's like, yeah, it's a 95 watt SKU, 135 watts. They do that all the time, and it drives me nuts. So I'm very curious to see what power draw numbers are with the new generations of chips. I think that's going to be very, very interesting moving forward.
Yeah, I think that too. So that's as much as the performance, I also would like to see power. I would like to keep it at the same. It's like, can I get the same performance? I mean, that's the whole point of like the turbocharge in a car. I can have technically less horsepower, or standard horsepower, and get more.
Denver
turbo.
Chimes in with $5. Give me an updated CRZ with plug-in hybrid feature, 50 kilowatt driving, and rear wheels for all-wheel drive. So rear wheel primary, but all-wheel drive. I'm assuming you just mean an all-wheel drive system. But actually, my first thought was when I saw the Corolla announcement, when I saw the GR announcement, I went, "There's no way that's not a hybrid. There's no way that's not a
e-car
gas plus electric." Because 300 horsepower out of a 1.6, like even 1.6 turbo, I'm going, no. But no, 1.6 liter, 3-cylinder engine, 300 horsepower, 295 foot-pound.
That engine block is probably like it can fit technically within this screen. Probably.
But one of my favorite engines that's been developed in the last decade, outside of liquid piston, and I really hope liquid piston eventually comes to market with some small and even scaled up engines, multi-rotors, whatever, has been the Ford Fiesta EcoBoost. It is a 1 liter naturally aspirated engine that does 170 horsepower. It's a cool little engine. Oh, and to introduce it to the US market, the CEO flew with it on a flight because it fits in an overhead bin.
Oh, the engine?
It fits the engine block fits as a carry-on on most airlines.
Oh my gosh.
Random obscure fact. But yeah, the Ford Fiesta 1 liter EcoBoost was one of my favorites to come out. I am all about like little engines, high output. I love that kind of technology. I love rotaries. I love Wankels, as flawed as they may be. But again, I'm very, very curious to see what liquid piston does. That is the inverted rotary engine, relying less on apex seals, more on valves to do their timing, intake, outtake. But yeah, 1 liter 4-cylinder EcoBoost. Cool little engine.
Oh my gosh, that thing is tiny. Wow. I mean, that looks like it belongs on a lawnmower.
Yep. Tripic says he drives a 1.3 liter non-turbo Suzuki Swift, mostly because fuel here is really expensive at $2.70 per liter. My first car was a 1993 Geo Metro. You may know it better as a Suzuki Swift. I did not have the 4-cylinder version. I had the 3-cylinder version, which was a 1 liter engine. 1 liter, 60 horsepower. Now everyone laughed because it was the 2-door hatchback, and it was in the automatic. It was like the worst combination. It was the only thing that could have been worse was if I had the 5-door hatchback. But I had the 3-door hatchback and automatic transmission, 3-speed, 3-cylinder, 1 liter. I still got like 55 miles to the gallon. What's amazing by that is it had a 10-gallon tank. I could do 500 miles on a tank between fills. Oh, and gas prices when I had the car in the early 2000s, I could fill the tank for $9 and then drive 500 miles.
Yeah.
Like competitive with electric cars today as far as input output.
That was your first car?
Yeah, my very first car was a 93 Geo Metro.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I wouldn't. Yeah. Surprisingly, mine was a Volvo.
I don't know that I could have guessed that. Although when I met you, you were driving a Civic.
That's true. That's true.
Little blue Civic.
It was an Accord, actually. But yeah,
was it an Accord? I could have swore it was a Civic.
It was the longer body, so it was an Accord. Same engine as the Civic.
Yeah, it was a 2-door, wasn't it?
It was a 2-door.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was the sports model. Man, that thing was hard to see the front end. I just like, oh, that's cool looking. Let me buy that. And that, again, it was engine-wise. But yeah, my first car, 95 Volvo 960 4-door, 5-door wagon, I guess, technically.
Yeah.
Because they're all 5 doors. But I hated that thing and I love that thing at the same time. So.
That's how it works. I've owned 2 Geos in my life. I had the 93 Metro. And then right after I got married, actually a month before I got married, I bought a 98 Geo Tracker, which is the Suzuki Samurai.
Oh, yeah, I know that.
I loved that car.
Famous for tipping over.
Famous for tipping over. But mine had the hardtop on it. It was 5-speed with 4-wheel drive. It was the absolute right model, had all the right packaging. It was so much fun to drive. And I drove that thing for like 4 or 5 years. And one day I was heading north on I-5 and the timing belt slipped.
Oh.
And it was an interference engine. And you can kind of guess the rest because I was doing like 80. And engines don't like it when all of a sudden your timing belt slips and the transmission just starts spinning things on its own. So I ended up with a hole in the engine block you could put your fist in. And by the way, that was only a 1.6 liter engine. Wasn't a lot of space to begin with, and we gave it some extra holes to breathe out of.
This is exhaust holes.
Right. Speed holes. Go fast holes.
They make it go fast. Yet the oil is leaking out. The transmission fluid's going through.
Lemming chimes in with 2 Aussie bucks. Thank you very much. The Koenigsegg Gemera, 2-liter, 3-cylinder, 600 horsepower. Oh, jeez. I just spilled my beer.
All of it?
I don't even know how that happened. No, not all of it.
Okay.
I don't even know how that happened. That was weird. Yay. All right. Well, I'm going to hand the show to you for like 2 minutes.
All right. Well, I asked the question of what everyone's first car was, and I will just go ahead and go through that. We got Skull with an 88 Oldsmobile. I'm assuming that's what it is. Olds. Quan, same to Jeff, a 93 Geo Metro. Woohoo. Then he went to an 84 RX-7 and a 90s RX-7. I always wanted an RX-7. Oops, not. All right. What else we had? We had Sean with a 93 Nissan Sentra. Yeah, those are classics. Everyone, where I grew up, saw those all the time. Oh, Grand Ams. Hey, Jero, 87 Grand Am. Nice. We got a Volvo XC40. What year was that Volvo XC40? Because, I just don't like the trunks. They're so small on those. We got a 89 Subaru. Novella, again, comes with an 88 Chevy Beretta. Someone, oh, Pontiac Grand Am. Jeez. Man, you guys, oh man, everyone's chiming in. Bubble top gold wing with a 1.6 1JZ engine. What is that? What is a bubble? Oh my gosh, you're kidding me. There's no way, Lemmings. Okay. All right. He's just pulling Honda Civic. Yeah. That after my Volvo, it was an 89 Honda Civic hatchback gray with a huge dent in the back. Again, one of those cars you love to hate. Actually, the only reason I stopped driving my Volvo was a Jaguar, a 99 Jag. I don't remember which model it was. T-boned me. Made me spin around a bunch. And yeah, that was fun. No, it hurt like a bunch. Actually, I had a 69 Camaro at one time. 69. That was fun. All stock numbers too. Had that for about a year and a half. 78 Ford LTD. Nice. Oh, Jeff smells like beer. Yes, he does. So what is going on, everyone, in this world? Jeff spilling beer. Don't know why he left, because technically, I mean, like, we don't see just in a wet pool of beer. Sounds like a good time to me. I've done that before. Twice, actually. People pay good money for that. We got a lot of people's first cars. Oh, yeah, 78 Chevy Nova. Kid I went to high school with had I don't remember what year it was. I think it was a little bit older than that Chevy Nova, but it was Nova. It was like a 68, 66 Nova. Yeah, there were some pretty interesting ones. Buick LeSabre 82. Now that's...
Oh, I thought I unmuted it. There we go. Sorry. Okay, I'm unmuted now.
Oh, tell us about your shirts. That's for the Discord only.
Yep.
So if you want to know about any Hops and Brews merch, you have to join the Craft Computing Discord. It's exclusive. And if you'd like to, that's just one of the perks of joining the Discord. Link for the Discord is in the description below. Minimum $1. More is always gratitude. But you get extra perks like seeing possible more merch from me. More merch.
How are people saying they still can't hear me? I see the input.
Lag? I can, yeah.
Yeah, we can hear you. Okay.
So
sorry, the delay on YouTube must be much longer than it normally is, because it's like, I fixed it. Why are you all complaining? I fixed it like a minute and a half ago.
It looks like it's about a 30-second delay.
Yeah.
It's still talking about me on Discord. So, yeah, that's a bit. Oh, yeah. I don't know if that came through.
At Craft Computing, I hope you got the license for the ICX 6610. Boy, here's the deal with that. Let's follow up with the brocade, shall we? Yes, to all the people who reached out with the exact same forum posts, either from Serve the Home or from the other site. I even had those sites before I started that video. Not before I ordered the Switch. I ordered the Switch, and then someone's like, "Oh, if you need licensing, like, here's where to get it," whatnot. I'm split. I'm split on that one, and here's why. Even though the brocade is end of life, it feels weird to circumvent licensing for me. However, I'm also in a position where I circumvent licensing on NVIDIA products all the time. And I justify it by saying NVIDIA gives away that same technology, and you can do the same exact thing on a different operating system. That is, Hyper-V with GPU-P is 100% free to use and fully endorsed by NVIDIA. And I'm simply unlocking the Linux version of doing it. That is still very, very heavily licensed by NVIDIA. But if they're going to unlock it on one platform, I don't see why it shouldn't be unlocked on other platforms. And I'm happy to unlock features that are inside of a GPU that are locked. So I really shouldn't have a problem with hacking the license on a Brocade. By the way, the license hack involves essentially changing the serial number that you're reporting to the Brocade switch so it thinks that you are a registered paid user. So I can guarantee you this. I'm not going to do a video on it. I'm not going to guarantee you that I won't use the switch, though. I might eventually do it and license it. I'm looking at a couple alternative solutions now. Obviously, Mikrotik has some really interesting things. I looked at some of their 40 gig stuff. I'm actually looking at one of their 100 gig switches right now. It's $800 for a 4-port 100 gig that can also be bifurcated into 20s or 25s, 10s, and 1s. I don't know how you'd get 100 DACs out of a QSFP28, but who knows? But yeah, so I definitely won't be filming a follow-up for that video simply because I don't know, some weird internal moral conflict with myself. I'm sure I'll get over it. But
Don't need to explain. It's your channel. Do what you want.
Right. Not the strangest thing I've seen with bifurcating a 100. Yeah, I will say the last things that I deployed in production were 40 gig. I never got to play with 100 gig stuff. So, let's see, Denver. I guess Denver has sent over a super chat. Oh, we missed a couple right after Lemming super chat. We missed one from Denver at $10. Original CRZ was a good-looking car, terrible powertrain, 120 horsepower, aerodynamic hybrid, two-seater that only rated for 35 miles to the gallon. My 96 V8 Fleetwood limo, 6 doors, got better when I babied it. I own both cars. That is seriously impressive for a V8 Fleetwood. I'm not going to lie. Because that's a Chrysler drivetrain, right?
For that, 96.
Yeah, 96. Yeah, Fleetwood. Fleetwood is Chrysler, right? They use Chrysler platforms?
Or Cadillac. Oh, it's a Cadillac.
Okay, so it's GM. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, you'd be on late LT engines.
LT1s.
Which I get. Yeah, LT1s. Yeah. Yeah, so I guess 35 miles a gallon isn't unheard of out of an LT1. Strange that you got it in a 6-door limo, though. Like, in a C4 Corvette, well-tuned, you could get 35 miles the gallon highway out of an LT1 and a C4 Corvette. I've not heard of that with double the curb weight, though. So, bravo if that's indeed accurate.
I mean, what does babying mean? Like 35 miles an hour babying? Like, you are just driving limo speeds, so.
Sorry, right under that, I didn't see this comment. Kane's World says 93 Geo Metro to a 94 RX-7 to a 1990 RX-7.
Yeah, I talked about that one.
So probably you got the 93 Metro, you went to a 12A and then to a 13B. That's cool. That's a cool combination of cars. I did own an 87 RX-7 for a very short time, like less than 3 months. I bought it for a project car, and then the engine in my daily driver exploded on me, and I had to sell the project car to fix the daily driver. Nope. I'll come see you in a minute, okay? I will come help you in just a minute, okay? All right. Doors have locks. Use them. But yeah, I did have an 87 RX-7 for a very brief time, but my daily driver was a 94 Toyota Celica. Loved that car. 5-speed GT, so it had the 2.2 liter instead of the 1.8. Phenomenal car. Front-wheel drive, but 5-speed, and everything you wanted in like a little 2-door commuter car.
Yep.
That's all I was doing, was putting 100,000 miles on the car. Like,
I had a 91.
Yeah. So yeah, very cool cars, but yeah, the engine in my Celica exploded, and so I had to get a new engine for it.
Hey, me too. Or my radiator exploded in mine.
Yeah. No, mine the motor straight up seized on me.
Oh.
Yeah. Spun a bearing and seized. Which is kind of rare for a Toyota, to be honest. But yeah, spun a bearing and didn't put a hole in the block like I had a couple other cars. In fact, both of my Geos ended with holes in the crankcases. So the Metro and the Tracker.
Yeah.
But yeah, I had to sell the RX-7 to get enough money to buy a Reman engine straight from Japan. Had it shipped from Rising Sun Motors.
Ooh.
Gosh, when was this? 2006. I wrote them I wrote Rising Sun. It was a site that I found online. Ordered a remanufactured engine by faxing in an order sheet, and then mailed them a check and hoped I would get an engine. I got an engine, and it was perfect. It was beautiful. And served me very well until a Toyota Sienna minivan pulled out in front of me, and I hit him doing almost 50 miles an hour. T-boned him in my Celica.
Oh.
So 8 months later, I put a brand new engine into my Celica, T-boned a Sienna at 50 miles an hour 8 months later. I was not happy. AMD, not to be out of the news loop this week, plans on showcasing their mid-range B650 and B650 enthusiast platforms on October 4th. So this will be the Zen 4 architecture on the AM5 platform with a 7000 series name and a 600 series chipset. Everyone got that?
There we go.
Okay. So yeah, brand new AM5 socket. Obviously, the high-end chips are going to come first. The X670, X670E, as well as probably the Ryzen 9 CPUs are going to get launched on September, 24th? 10 days from now. Dang. September 28th, something like that. And then the week after, they're going to show off the new mid-range, so the Ryzen 5 CPUs and the mid-range chipsets to go with that. While it will still support PCIe 5 and DDR5 memory, it is being limited on the number of PCIe 5.0 slots, and you need to get the enthusiast platform if you want to get PCI Express 5.0 storage compatibility. So those are the rumors that I've heard thus far about it. Very curious to see what happens. I know the goal of most companies anymore is to drive you to an enthusiast platform, but it's still not what most people buy. Most people are still going to be buying mid-tier. They're still going to be buying B650 motherboards. So very curious to see what the trade-offs are, what impact that has on performance, whether it's gaming, whether it's workstation, whether it's enterprise, whether it's server. Very curious to see. So, shut up, John.
How are you enjoying that beer?
It's definitely good. Definitely reminds me of Waldo's Past.
Yeah.
It's not nearly as easy drinking as some of the other ones that I've had.
Yeah.
where it's like the mouthfeel is the same. The hop profile is definitely big, bold, punchy in the mouth and ask for more. I mean, it is dank.
Yeah.
Yeah, we are solidly into the West Coast, heading into the South Valley. Dank on the hop profile. But the back end, it's not nearly as smooth. It's not nearly as easy drinking. While the Waldo series is always going to be that oily cling, this one's leaving a little bit of a sour, weird tang in my mouth. Mm-hmm. And while I still call it enjoyable, it's a noticeable step back.
Yeah. No, I think I don't remember if it was the year before or the year prior to that. That one was amazing, and then they did like a bad batch.
2020 was incredible.
I think that's what it was.
Yeah.
2020 was incredible. 2021 was not great at all. I mean, it wasn't like horror, but for what we're talking about, this one is right in between.
Right. Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, I've been drinking the Waldo series since, 2016, I think?
Yeah.
Is when I kind of, discovered Waldo. They do this.
Attention.
Yeah, started paying attention, you know. About 2015, 2016 was the year I got really deep into craft beer. Yeah. I'm going into the weeds. I'm pre-ordering all my Bourbon Counties. I'm making sure that I'm there for all the Firestone releases. I'm into it. Let's go.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's definitely still enjoyable. It's definitely still very high bang for the buck because remember, this is a $2 12 ounce. That's 11.7% triple IPA, double dry hopped. It's a good beer still.
Yeah.
But if I had to rate it on Untapped, I'm leaning more towards the 3.25, 3.5 than I am towards the 4 to 4.25 that I normally would rate a Waldo's at. It's still good, but there's a couple qualities that I straight up don't like about it.
Yeah, it's fair.
Yeah. Mr. Wonderful says, Craft Computing, I watch your shows all the time, and I love ordering the beers you end up trying out. Awesome. Honestly, the reason I started the channel was to share things that I like. I started the channel, tech-wise, with weird AliExpress X79 motherboards that no one had done an English review on yet. And I went, this is interesting to me. Knockoff chipsets, refurbished, they're reballing all of these and selling them as something else. That's intriguing. I wonder if that would work. The reason I decided to do a video on the X79 stuff is the year prior, I had bought a genuine X99 motherboard, but I had imported an Intel classified CPU. It was the 2678 V3. So 12 core, 24 thread, engineering sample. So it was an ES marked chip and, served me quite well. And, during 2016, I had fully water cooled it. I had built up a couple of different GPU, configurations until I found one that I was happy with, and whatnot. And I went, you know what? I'm thinking about trying to do a YouTube channel, talking about things that I like. Why don't I try doing stuff on super affordable import electronics?
Yeah.
And then since I'm in the Northwest, usually all day long I've got a bottle of water or juice or Gatorade or ginger ale, or I've usually got something next to me to drink. I went, since I'm in the Northwest, since I'm in Oregon, we're in hop nirvana here. Why don't I open a new craft beer in every video? Just for a hook, just for a prop, just for something to talk about, something to get people interested. And it kind of worked. So,
yeah.
5.5 years later, here I am. But I talked about that stuff because I was already doing that kind of stuff. I was already very interested in that type stuff. But 2016 was also the year that 15, 16 was also the year that I was getting really into craft beer and starting to go with John to like rare beer releases and tap rooms.
We don't need to get into those stories.
Yeah. We'll stop at the speakeasy like that.
There we go.
Yeah. Knock 3 times if you want to go down 2 stories. Knock 3 times if you want.
Yeah, there were some good beers down there, I'll tell you what.
What was that, 19 and a half apricot?
Oh, man, that was a weird
Remember
one.
that one?
Yeah, I do remember that one. I had to split it with everyone in the room.
Holy crap. There were like 12 people down there. It was a pint, and so we all split it, and you got like an ounce and a half out of a bottle. The bottle was $100.
Yep.
It was a 19.5% apricot. Was it a red ale?
No, I think
or was it a sour? Sour. Okay. Yeah, it was an
like
apricot infused something.
Yeah. Pretty sure it was like a sour. Because I think it was from Europe or something like that.
Yeah.
Because the bottle was really weird. I remember him showing it.
Had a champagne style cork on it.
Yep.
Had the wire twist and the long bulbous cork on it. It was interesting. Okay, that 19% is not legally beer anymore. Technically, yes it is.
Yes it is.
It was still mashed at up to 19%. Yes. And that particular beer didn't use any weird or obscure distillation, freeze distillation, any kind of tech. It was genuinely a 19.5% mash.
You can get that. So
you can do that. You got to use certain strains of yeast and hardy ingredients and things like that, but you can do it. Sam Adams does it with the Utopias, and they get upwards of 28%. Yeah. Although they've got that down to a science anymore with some very specific strains.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can use something like champagne yeast with mead and get easily 14 to 17% in your house. So
yeah, then now think about climate control and everything that they have. They can get what they want.
Yeah. So, but no, still technically a beer.
Yeah.
Good times. Good times. I promised a lot of off-the-wall stories. Let's see if we can rapid fire these really quick, because we got 5 minutes left.
Sure,
okay,
let's do that.
Irish teenager wins a National Science Award for a Deepfake Detector AI. He has been engineering this AI for the last 5 years, and he goes, while it is only as accurate as the current deepfake detection AI protocols that are used by Google, Twitter, and some other resources, he says his is 5 times faster. Yeah. So it's 5 times more efficient than the tools that are being used today to detect deepfake videos. Kind of a cool story. The full article is linked in the description if you want to read it. Very interesting read. The kid's 16 years old, and he's developing...
For 5 years he's been developing
for 5 years he's been developing his own homebrew neural network to detect deepfake videos. Really cool story. Micron breaks ground on their $15 billion US chip plant that should be opening in 2026. This is in Boise, Idaho, and is said to bring tens of thousands of jobs and will account for 40% of Micron's DRAM production volume globally by 2025. Yeah. So huge US investment by Micron for DRAM and potentially GDDR and other memory technologies. So very cool stuff there. Ubisoft says, we weren't ever fully invested in NFTs. Why would you think that? Other than the fact that we said it was the future of gaming as we know it. Yeah, we'll see if NFTs really answer the player's needs.
Gosh, that was horrible.
Who saw this one coming? South
you don't
Korea.
Have your ape?
Yeah. South Korea hits Google and Meta with record-setting fines over privacy violations. So they have been fined 69.2 billion KRW, or around 50 million US dollars. That's Google's share, and about $22 million in Meta's share for privacy leaks from South Korea. Again, a very interesting story. This has everything to do with regulation and local laws not being followed by either of those conglomerates. So, again, if you're interested in privacy data, that kind of stuff, pretty interesting read.
Yep.
To Google and Meta, this is probably just the cost of doing business, because they probably made more ad revenue in those countries than they did if they'd have followed all the laws. So it's kind of you can't punish the rich because you can't charge them enough. But hey, at least South Korea is trying. And finally, is that last story? No, two more stories.
No, two more.
The UK is challenging Microsoft's proposed $69 billion acquisition of Activision and Blizzard games, citing potential harm to gamers. Now, obviously, this was the largest concern of the acquisition here in the US, as Microsoft already has control of, well, let's just say PC gaming, as well as the Xbox space. And Activision Blizzard is one of the largest publishers and developers on the planet. And so the merger of these two companies, with regard to streaming services, game streaming, game publication, even lockouts and exclusivity, the repercussions of this acquisition are huge. And while it may be getting a pass in the US, the UK may still not allow it. And as a global company, both of them being, you have to follow global laws. And if the UK says you can't merge, the merger may be halted. So something to keep an eye on here in the coming months. Finally, right to repair. A judge has allowed the McFlurry machine repair lawsuit to proceed, and I could not be happier. Now, we covered this as a right to repair issue probably 6-8 months ago, something like that, where a third-party company was making a module you can plug into the McDonald's McFlurry machine to read the diagnostic codes off of, very similar to an OBD2 port that you have on your car. It would tell you where the fault was, what the fault was, and the parts necessary to replace it, as well as the third party offering parts for sale, so individual franchisee owners could repair McFlurry machines and keep business moving. McDonald's as a corporation, not the franchise owners, but the corporation, had a contract exclusivity with the McFlurry machine provider, where the franchisee had to buy the hardware from this manufacturer and had to buy service from this manufacturer, which does seem like a conflict of interest if you're a franchisee, individually owned and operated franchise, as well as a blow to right to repair, as if I buy a piece of machinery, it is my right to be able to repair that machine through whatever means necessary. Are you reading the room, John Deere, Tesla, Apple? You best pay attention. Anyway, that third-party company, I'm drawing a blank on the name now. Taylor and Ketch. Ketch Devices. Kytch. Anyway, Ketch sued Taylor, which was the ice cream machine manufacturer, saying, we have a right to provide our customers with diagnostic data from your machines, and that no proprietary or industry secrets are being transmitted. We're simply reading the diagnostic report and giving our customers the information, and then selling them third-party parts, which are, again, totally legal. Well, a judge has allowed that lawsuit to continue, as Taylor and McDonald's both asked for dismissals. So, kind of big news in the right to repair, albeit in the foods industry, but this may have ramifications down the road for tech companies at large. Yeah. It could be a very precedent-setting case, so one to keep an eye on.
All right. That's
all right. I covered all that news in 7 minutes. Holy crap. Like, it's like I read the articles or something. All right. Cool. And
Well,
I
I think that's probably it.
I think that's a show.
That's a show.
It's been a good one.
Yeah.
Episode 251x2. Electric Boogaloo. According to my podcast monkey, which is his official title, according to my podcast monkey, last week was episode 250. So if I put 249 in twice in a row, that was my mistake, and I actually made a mistake earlier in the process, which negated that mistake. So last week was 250. This is 251. You heard it here first.
There we go. Whatever.
Anyway, John, any good of the order? Any announcements to make?
Nothing. Just keep watching. Subscribe. Again, if you want to see some possible new merch coming in from my side, you got to join the Discord. So check that out. Yeah, we got some fall stuff coming, if you know what I mean. Wink, wink.
God, is it orange and round?
Yes, it is.
I have one pumpkin beer in my fridge.
Well, this is 35%. And there you go.
You had my attention. Now you have my curiosity. So I do have a pumpkin beer in the fridge. I will save it for the next time you're on in October.
Okay.
I will drink it with you.
Okay. Is it one I might already have?
It's nitro.
Okay, I don't have that. So, okay. All right. Cool. All right. I can do a pumpkin beer in October.
Yeah.
Pumpkin
I'm
beers.
only doing the one.
Oh, but I'll do two.
But no, I have a nitro infused pumpkin.
Okay.
So should be fun. Anyway, if you like this video, make sure to hit that thumbs up button, subscribe to Craft Computing if you haven't done so already, drop this episode a like down in the video description, it definitely helps us out. Any articles that you'd like to read, also in the video description if you'd like more information on them. Make sure to check out craftcomputing.store. I've actually just dropped some brand new merch down there that some of our Star Trek fans may be interested in, and I'm hoping to be able to show that off here in the next week or so. But those articles of clothing are on sale now. Anyway, other than that, follow me on Twitter at Craft Computing to keep up with daily shenanigans like this. Follow John at Hops and Brews over on pretty much every social media platform you can find him.
Pretty much.
And that's going to do it here for Talking Heads. As always, thank you all so much for watching.